This is the opening music for the worst fantasy football show ever. Blah, blah. Welcome back to the worst fantasy football show ever. And quite possibly the worst television show ever. I'm joined on the phone from Argentina by Ryan, who's now
Hello.
I can say his name. Hi.
Hello.
Your picture this week, you're coming again from what appears to be Arrowhead Stadium. And it is the photograph taken of you in Las Vegas with a fake mustache and glasses.
All right.
And a creepy smile. But a nice haircut. A very nice haircut.
I guess there's always that.
So, yeah. So, this was a better week overall, right?
Yeah, I'd say there was some good points and bad points. I definitely got to pay attention a little bit closer than I was the week before, and so I felt like I was in it more.
You know, before we go any further, I just want to point out that for all 0.6 viewers that we have, in a league that we don't discuss here on this show, it's kind of what I call the family league. My sister pounded me, beat me bad this week, which is not entirely true, but she definitely won. Coming off of a huge victory over you last week.
And last week's no different than most every day. She pounds me most every night.
Wow, I wish that wasn't a joke. So, hats off to my sister, your wife, clearly the best fantasy football player in our family.
I don't disagree.
So, moving right along, what we're going to try to do nowadays is bring top performers into this thing right off the bat. So, we'll talk really quickly. I do think that you and I discussed last week, let me come back to this shot here. We did want to apologize to the viewers, right?
Yes, we did. We were not into the show last week, and I think both of us kind of sleptwalked through it, and as a result, not only did we completely bore you all, but we bored you all for twice as long as we ever intended.
Yeah, it was a solid 52 plus minutes afterwards, and neither one of us had any idea until after it was over. So, sorry about that. But it is the worst show ever, so you're going to have to expect that from time to time. Okay, so top performers, quarterbacks, we'll make this real quick. I actually was shocked to find out afterwards that Robert Griffin Jr., which is what I'm going to start calling him now because I think that's kind of funny, did just as well as Eli Manning in fantasy points.
Yeah, he was a stud.
But that was because he did a Cam Newton as opposed to what Eli did with the 510 yards rushing or passing.
The thing that I think is interesting about Robert Griffin is the fact that apparently he's calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage. He's given a couple plays, and he is essentially calling his number when he gets down to the goal line. I think that that's probably going to wear out his welcome a little bit, potentially with some of his teammates. So I could see some of that changing.
Ah, that's a great point, actually. I didn't realize that. Because you're right, he ran 2 touchdowns in, I guess, from close distance, and it's not as if they don't have enough trouble with their running back scenario in that town anyway.
That's right.
Otherwise, shocking.
He'll still be a stud, though. I mean,
Fair
I think
enough,
he's going
yeah.
to be an excellent quarterback throughout.
That pass he threw, there was one pass that I can't remember if it was Banks or some guy, I don't know, but he threw one of the longest balls that I can remember seeing in an actual game.
Is that the one that bounced right off Aldrich's shoulder?
Did he catch it?
No, I'm
there was
talking about the one that hit
I
Aldrich
thought
right in the shoulder
that was
pad.
a completion for a touchdown to number 88, and I don't know who that is, but no, that would be Garcon. I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
Probably Hankerson. I think Hankerson had a long.
But it was a crazy pass, and so. But the other top, rounding out the top 10 real quickly, based on what I have from the Dynasty League site, Sam Bradford 3. Dalton, Rivers, Newton, Whedon, Roethlisberger, Fitzpatrick, and Luck.
No Aaron Rodgers?
No.
No Jay Cutler?
No. Oh, come on now. That's mean. No Drew Brees. Tom Brady was like 20th. So.
Yeah, it was a crazy week for, I think, some of the scores.
Yeah. All right. And then moving on to running backs. Again, as we read this list, that's peculiar. Reggie Bush, C.J. Spiller, Trent Richardson, finally Arian Foster. Then we're back to McGahee, Sproles, Tate. Jackie Battle was 9th. Andre Brown, 10th.
Yeah, craziness.
Holy cow. I did not take Tate this week. You're in my light. So I didn't do Tate this week, and I guess I should have, but you never know what's going to happen with that. I took care of that, Jimmy. I tried to call you back, but you were calling me, and it didn't work out. Little behind the scenes there. What up? Then wide receivers. Hakeem Nicks and Cruz was 3rd. Danny Amendola 2nd. And then, this one's more normal, sort of. With Bo, White, Harvin, Jackson, Thomas, Avery. That Avery isn't really normal, but...
No, she is not whatsoever.
Inside joke. So, and then finally, tight ends. Again, this is sort of a waste of time. But, Rosario, that's only because of the injury to Gates. Then Vernon Davis, Brent Selleck, Tony Gonzalez, Jimmy Graham, Gronkowski, Martellus Bennett, Anthony McCoy. Not sure I'd even ever heard of him before. You probably have.
Yeah, he's from USC.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'd say the biggest news that I can think of, well, obviously kicking back to the wide receivers, the night that Nicks and Cruz had. Pretty amazing, honestly.
Sure.
And I've been thinking about them, and you need to stop me and just tell me let's move on at some point if you're thinking about it. But the Giants' offense is different from what I consider to be that Saints formula that New England and Green Bay have adopted, where you never know who's going to get it. I genuinely feel like you can start Cruz and Nicks both with confidence every week.
Oh, without question. I mean, the biggest difference with the Saints is they have one guy, Marquise Colston, and then a tight end, I guess, Jimmy Graham. But the rest of the guys are all the same-ish, and any one of them can step in. But the guys behind Cruz and Nicks are borderline terrible.
Yeah, and they're just not going to get the targets. Hickson got a couple that he got hurt, but still, they're not going to get it.
Right.
And even Bennett is going to have some good games, but he's not going to be as big.
I think the Black Unicorn's going to be all right.
I'm really pleased.
I'm buying in on your
I'm really
love.
pleased with what I've seen so far. I might get my tight end whisperer status back, even, if he continues to help me out. So, yeah. Well, that's great. So moving on to Dynasty League. I'm showing the league standings right now. And there's 3 of us at 2-0. I'm one of them. Whoop, whoop. I'm 3rd place technically because the Deer Slayers scored 1 point more than me over the past 2 weeks. But I have scored exactly 146 points each week so far this season.
Well, there's probably a 146-point medal for you somewhere.
I'll take it. Absolutely. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're in 7th place with a nice win this week.
No, I lost.
Or with a nice loss this week.
Yes.
Oh. Let's see here. Who were you playing against?
I played Unleash 52, and he had a terrible week. I just had a more terrible week with Jamal Charles and Ahmad Bradshaw's injuries.
Gates,
late time injury where I didn't have a chance to switch something out. If I had had better internet services, because I wasn't able to be home to look at things, I may have been able to drop somebody and pick up Rosario Dawson. Or no, that's not her.
But I'd pick her up.
Dante Rosario. But I would have won if I had done that, which sucks. But anyway, that's the way it is.
Yeah, 94 to 107 it shows. And yeah, you both were fighting to just have terrible weeks. It looks
Right.
like.
No, it wouldn't have been a pretty or a confidence-building week.
But to be honest, the Jeremy Maclin thing, injury, hurt you.
Oh, I had injuries all over the place.
And Jamal Charles injury, right?
Yep.
Or sort of. Ahmad Bradshaw injury. Taylor Thompson was a result of an injury as far as, like, you're playing him, right?
Yeah, it would have done me just as good to play a Gates. They get the same points.
Yep. But, it's nice to have Trent Richardson actually doing something on the field. That's got to make you feel better.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm still feeling all right about my team.
And then, like we said, Unleash 52, rather modest showing. Reggie Bush is a stud, apparently. What are you going to do? So what are you up to this week, then? You're facing off with the number one team in the league, if I've got this correct.
Yeah, I play Gronk's dance moves.
And I think I've got him next week or the week after that.
Yeah, he certainly had some very good performances out of some players.
Holy cow.
And has a pretty awesome team as a starting team all around. So it'll be a tough week, no question.
Absolutely. Now, yeah, I mean,
he's got me beat at position by position, probably most every place, except he starts Stephen Hill.
Right.
But if you look at week 1, he did awesome. Week 2, he did nothing. So
right.
I'm hoping for some no-shows. But yeah, he's got Brandon Pettigrew, who hasn't been a world beater, but the Titans have been getting smoked by tight ends this week. Or each week, so he could have a big game. He right now has Baltimore against the Patriots. Hey, defense, if that's what you're planning on, you might as well just chalk it up to a loss. So I'm not too confident, but I certainly will give it a try.
And you know what? The whole confidence thing I have found really doesn't end up making much of a difference. I really thought I was going to get pounded both weeks, and I've gotten through. Yeah, but I mean, his team is definitely a bunch of upstarts in a way, or guys that we didn't think were going to be on the field as much at this time of the season. With Adrian Peterson and C.J. Spiller, even the law firm, I love him. I just didn't expect that much out of him yet. But yeah, and your team just has to be healthy. It looks like, really.
Yeah, I'm really kind of struggling with some health stuff and things like that. And like I said, I'm not looking for a win this week, but we'll see.
Well, there's always your logo, which I'm showing right now. Look at the buckles on my shoes! Or something like that. So, moving right along, my matchup turned out to be great, actually, considering I started out with a 4-point... Oh, I heard you.
All right.
With a 4-point performance by Jay Cutler and not starting Ben Tate. I'm afraid that's going to be an issue for me all season. I'll start him next week and he'll do 3 points, and I won't start him the week after that, and he'll post another 20, 25 points kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm loving me some Brandon LaFell.
Yeah, you got him for me in a trade earlier in the preseason too. So that's worked out definitely in your favor, I'd say, so far.
Yeah, it involved, was that the Maclin trade?
I believe so.
So yeah, I'm happy with that. That's playing out. We'll see how much it continues. Steve Smith is dealing with bumps and bruises, it seems like, continuously, but it seems like Cam Newton is starting to like him. And Malcolm Floyd has been the guy. Robert Meacham's been invisible as far as I can tell. As far as San Diego, as you mentioned, Black Unicorn, getting it done. Loving that. I'd love to see Jermaine Gresham actually do something. But, yeah. And then, let's see, my matchup coming up this week. I had already put Andrew Luck in, it looks like. But my opponent, it has some up and downers on his team. I don't know, it could go either way. I actually have Greg Little in my lineup as of right now. He kind of woke up.
No, and against the Bills, I think that's a good play.
especially I think, and maybe I'm overanalyzing or trying to sound too smart, but I think the Trent Richardson thing, the fact that he's now doing it, I think that helps Greg Little, right?
I think it helps everybody.
Yeah.
On that team. Take the pressure off of Whedon so Whedon can do a little more.
And I'll roll with. Oh, go ahead.
Your biggest thing is deciding between Cutler and Luck.
Yeah.
And they both have decent type mashups to go against, so it's going to be a flip of a coin. And I think I think you're going to feel more lucky with Luck, and so I'd go with that.
Yeah, I honestly haven't looked at it too much yet, and I was prepared to start Cutler again if I needed to. Hopefully it just won't come to that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll roll with Nix and Bennett on Thursday night, though, and love to see what happens there.
I'm hoping for the Shanahanigans for you, and where he decides to start Roy Halou this week and completely bench Alfred Morris.
Oh, that'd be great.
And that would help you out a little bit.
That would be great. And I want to see you, going back. Oh, wait. Yeah, because I'm playing Reaper Crew, and you just beat that same guy in a different league, the Bad Boys League, as we call it.
Yeah.
And with a historic win, and brought yourself up out of the basement in that league as well.
That's right.
And is this a historic win not just only by the difference in point total, but you're not 0-2.
That makes a big difference, just being back in the middle of the pack.
And I've got that up right now. You are, in fact, in 8th place at 1-1. I'm in 6th place at 1-1. I was second after week 1 with a win, and I had a pretty close loss, relatively speaking. It was 15 points, I think. But Chris Johnson killed me, but we'll get to that. Let's have a look here at your matchup against the Wildcats. It doesn't get much better than that, especially when you have a wide receiver that posts a 1 for you.
Correct.
And then you put up 256 points against him, putting up numbers like 6 and 2 and 3 and 0 and 2 and 3 and -3. And you rode your Buffalo Bills defense, sadly against your favorite team, of course, your boys. But
yes.
You had the confidence to ride them after their performance last week. Anything you want to say about this stuff?
All I can say is I got lucky and smoked him. He had some injuries. It'll all come back around. Me drafting C.J. Spiller in the mid part of the draft is certainly the thing that has made my team right now what it is. And I would have beaten you the first week if I had played C.J. Spiller instead of Greg Little. I certainly didn't make that mistake again this week and won't make it again next week. So.
Yeah, he looks incredible.
He's the number 1 scoring fantasy back in for running backs right now.
And reality as well, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't know about reality. I try to avoid that.
Touche. So then upcoming this week, you've got the same guy that you just played in the past week, right?
In Dynasty.
In the other league, yeah. So that's interesting, I guess. But a much different team. And just kind of eyeballing this.
It's going to be a pretty tight game.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are kind of yin and yang here in a lot of ways. I like C.J. Spiller better than Bolden, that's for sure. As far as your flex spot goes.
But you've got to certainly love Rob Gronkowski over terrible, no good Jermaine Gresham.
Hey.
He needs to go back to writing books.
Yep. Oh, God. Right. And then, I don't know about old Steven Jackson or what the deal is going to be with him going forward after some nice performances from the bench.
They supposedly had that groin injury, things like that. I think probably what happened is Fisher put him into place a little bit more. I think that spiking the ball incident, I think, is really more of what was going on, and they're trying to downplay some of it a little bit. Maybe that's just wishful thinking too, but Steven Jackson doesn't miss many games. I think he's only missed like 2 or 3 games in the last 4 years, which is kind of surprising when I looked at that. So he's going to be in there. He got a tough matchup against Chicago, but you never know. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it is right. I mean, he needs to control himself a little bit, I think. But yeah, I mean, I like him. Who knows what you guys are going to get out of Tom Brady and Michael Vick, honestly. So that will be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, the other brother for the Jacksons, Jermaine, he's got to go. I don't know what to do with him. He's terrible. I'm going to try to find something to do with him this week other than play him if I can find somebody who would want to take this trash that's on my team. I'm completely disgusted with him. He needs to grow up and be a man.
Right on. Hopefully he's watching right now.
We're going to send him the show if not.
Here's, as I was referring to earlier, here's my matchup from this past week in Bad Boys that I lost. And it's, what can you say? I had good performances in general. Chris Johnson killed me. And I don't know. If Matt Forte had played more in that game, maybe things had been different, but if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, but you got more Bush this week out of the whole deal.
I do indeed. And apparently Forte's injury is not nearly as bad as it originally speculated. So it sounds like at worst a week or two. But I have not checked up on it today actually. So
you gotta feel good about your, at the time of the draft, a little bit of a reach for Percy Harvin, but boy oh boy.
And I told you then, I was doing something different this year. Now I went back and looked and I drafted Harvin the year before as well, but I've never liked him so much, and I was just trying to fight against some of those things and take people that I wasn't crazy about. And I'm incredibly pleased with Harvin. Absolutely. That's going to be awesome for me going forward. Let's see. My matchup this week is heroes or zeros. And, I don't know. Every week I look at my matchups and don't like them. And I feel like I'm trailing from projections. So I never really know how to feel about it.
I think you have to watch your Washington defense, and maybe you have some plans to do something different there. But
I do.
With them losing Arakpo
and Carricker,
makes a little bit of a difference.
Oh yeah, I certainly have no plans to ride them this week unless I have to. So they are still in there. Waivers go overnight tonight, so I'll look into that before I. No wait, is it tonight or tomorrow night? Wednesday morning, right?
It is tonight.
Okay.
In this league.
Yeah, and Dynasty waivers go off in about 30 minutes.
So. Okay, I can remember when they went.
But yeah, I'll be looking to do something differently for defense, and I may have already put something in. Let me just check that real quick. I did, but not for a defense. So there. I'm not telling you what it is.
Oh, I don't want you
to. I don't know. I've got some, obviously Eli Manning, who I expect a big game out of. Calvin Johnson this is my opponent's team. Malcolm Floyd, DeMarco Murray, Law Firm, Martellus Bennett, What are you going to do? I try just to hope that my guys score more than them rather than have the other guys do poorly, So, we'll see. I like Brandon LaFell Thursday night. after what the Cowboys did to them. So yeah, and keep on riding Ridley as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, especially with Hernandez being out.
Yes. So, well, what else? What kind of general discussion do you have?
The only other things I have is had a couple trades that proposed to me today. One in Dynasty to give me Larry Fitzgerald, and one in Bad Boys to take Larry Fitzgerald from me. I think I'm going to turn both of them down.
Yeah.
I'd like to get Fitzgerald. I would like to buy low on him, but I'm not interested in giving him up necessarily on one mediocre, one bad week. So.
Oh yeah, and that whole situation is a mess. So.
My biggest thing in Bad Boys is I want to get rid of Jermaine Gresham.
Really?
So,
but yeah.
I don't know how or what.
Well, you don't want anybody that I have, I'm sure. I mean, maybe Witten, but no thank you.
I'll trade Forte for him.
I meant another tight end. Do you have a backup over there?
Do I?
Yeah.
Nope.
I just pulled it up. You sure don't.
Nope.
So, I've got Owen Daniels and that kind of thing. Who's leading targets on that team.
That's right.
I don't know. I like Gresham still. I'm not done with him for sure.
I'll probably end up with him next week. But
I think that he's still dealing with whatever he was dealing with at the beginning of the season. So.
What, a lack of a sack? Him and Matt Castle, both.
He's not a good football player, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, we're about at the 30-minute mark.
We are. I noticed that, and so I figured we'd try to wrap it up here, right?
That's right.
So otherwise, I can't think of anything else other than you got anything else? Ray Lewis tomorrow night on
right.
the NFL Network.
It'll be on DVR for me when I get back.
Right on. Well, cool. I want to say congratulations again to my sister for being so awesome at fantasy football.
Yep, she's a stud.
And that's going to be it. That'll do it for us. This was the worst fantasy football show ever. And I'm rolling the credits. This is the credits song. It's the worst ever. And we suck, and you suck for watching. Good night.